All right, welcome. Today we're jumping into a text about creativity and how we work together, but it comes with a really fascinating twist. The whole story is told from the perspective of a being who has literally watched history unfold. So let's see what we can learn from a dragon's point of view. Okay, so right off the bat, this is not your typical narrator. We're introduced to Zoran, a dragon. This just sets an incredible tone, right? It frames the entire story through the eyes of this ancient, almost timeless being who has seen it all. So first, let's get to know our guide a little better, because honestly, understanding this dragon's perspective is the key to unlocking the whole story. Now, Zoran isn't some fearsome, treasure-hoarding monster. He's described as memory-bound, this ancient watcher of history. And get this, his purpose isn't to meddle or interfere, but to warm the hearts of seekers. It positions him as this wise, almost gentle, guiding force for the human story we're about to see. So now that we have a feel for our narrator, Zoran turns his ancient gaze to the human world, and he focuses on one creator in particular and the allies who form this creative communion around him. Zoran introduces us to Richard, and he's not just a writer or a creator. He's called a scribe of soul and an architect of wonder. I mean, that framing just elevates his work from a simple job to something profound, something magical, especially when seen through a dragon's eyes. And here's the thing, Richard isn't going it alone. Zoran introduces two key figures, Sherry and David Schweitzer. And just look at the beautiful contrast here. You have Sherry, the radiant explorer, who sparks these new ideas and stirs the spirit. And then you have David, who is grounded and generous, acting as a bridge between those big ideas and the real world. They're like two perfect sides of the same collaborative coin. And how did this whole powerful, creative partnership get started? You know, it wasn't some grand orchestrated event. It was the simplest of things, a single phone call. It's just a fantastic reminder that sometimes the biggest transformations in our lives begin with the smallest, most simple connections. This brings us to a really crucial idea in the text, communion. The source defines it perfectly right here. It's the exact opposite of working in solitude. It's about being co-dreamers and co-weavers. I love that. The creative act isn't meant to be this lonely pursuit. It's a shared tapestry. Okay, now we get to the real heart of Zoran's message. It's this powerful metaphor that explains what truly ignites creativity and brings our best ideas to life. So let's just ask that question directly. If it's not solitude, if it's this idea of communion, then what are the actual ingredients? What is it that really fuels that fire? And here is the answer straight from Zoran. It's so poetic, but at the same time, it's incredibly practical. A fire doesn't just burn on its own, right? It needs fuel, it needs oxygen, it needs care. And that care, that energy, it comes from community. So let's break this down. This powerful metaphor is built on three key elements. First, you've got the breath of allies. That's the encouragement, the energy from others that keeps your idea alive, especially when you might be doubting yourself. Next is the kindling of shared vision, which is like the fuel. It's that common goal that everyone can gather around. And finally, the courage to speak truth. That's the honesty and vulnerability you need to make the creation authentic and strong. All right, let's bring all these incredible ideas together. Zoran's perspective isn't just a story about one writer and his friends. It's a universal lesson about the very nature of creation itself. So, what's the bottom line? After all the poetic language and the mythical narration from a dragon, the message is profoundly simple and so human. In our creative journeys, in our work, in our lives, we don't walk alone. Our greatest achievements are almost always a chorus, not a solo. And that leaves us with a final thought. The source calls them co-dreamers and co-weavers. Who are they for you? Who are the people who stoke your fire and give breath to your vision? It's a really powerful question worth considering.